Okay, this is a demo of this modified Radial Arm Saw project. I removed the wood cutting circular saw part off of this machine and replaced it with this angle grinder. This is a small 4.5 inch and also 4.5 amp, or is it 7 amp? I don't know. Eventually, I wanted to put a 7-inch angle grinder on here, but this has worked out so well, might not have to. So I fabricated these brackets. This is perfectly rigid, runs perfectly true. This is a jig or a fixture that's bolted to the table, and the whole concept of this thing, or the whole idea for it, was to rip this 1/4 inch and 3/16 angle lengthwise. These pieces are 14 inches long, 13 and 7/8 inches long, and most of them are 3/16. Some of them are 1/4 inch. We do a lot of both, and they have to be trimmed or ripped lengthwise for the part that this is being used for. And I've done it with the plasma cutter. I've done it with a diamond blade in an angle grinder, a regular cutoff wheel in an angle grinder. You have to measure it, mark it, etch it, then you're leaning into it, trying to follow the line. And you know, if you were doing just one of those, it'd be fine. But I've made 150 of these here in the past year or so, and we expect to do a couple hundred more over the next year. So I needed a way that was quicker, safer, more precise, and this is it. So, okay, so we just set the angle. Oh, let me crank up the table a little bit. I mean, lower the. Also had I modified this crank too. Little piece of aluminum on there. But anyway, the steel angle just fits in there against this fixture, this 2-part jig that's in there. There's no clamping needed anymore. I've modified it numerous times. This thing's been apart and together several times over the past week. But this is the final one. So you just put the angle in there. It's wired up to the original switch that used to turn on the wood cutting saw. So it'll be a little noisy. I'm not going to talk during the cut, and let's see what happens here. Okay, now it's quiet enough I can hear myself. All right, so that was a pretty deep cut, maybe deeper than I did on the test cuts. One more pass, and that will be through there. That'll cut that off. And it works. And the cuts are perfect, perfectly straight and true. The dimension is precise. When we put this against the other piece that it gets welded to, it just works out perfect. Doing it by hand, whether it was with the plasma cutter or the other angle grinder, it just never came out this perfect because you're doing it freehand, so to speak. So anyway, I guess I could do the second pass and actually cut this. I'm just trying to keep the video real short. So let me, let's do the second pass here. I'm just going to crank the, I keep saying the saw down, but you're actually cranking the table up. And that part of the table was in perfect condition. This thing was built in 1977, according to the serial number tag. I bought this used for $50, and it worked. Everything worked. It was a shame that the motor worked, and I had to take it off. but there's no play or sloppiness anywhere in this machine. The up and down, everything's perfectly tight. Okay, let's do the second pass here. Okay, there it is. You know, I thought this was 3/16. This one might be 1/4 inch. I should measure that because we got both size materials here. That seemed to take an extra couple of passes compared to my previous one. And now that I look at it, I think that might be 1/4 inch. Anyway, that's it. This cut is perfect. I mean, it's clean, much cleaner than the plasma cutter. Although, with the plasma cutter, you could get it pretty good, but not this good. And while the plasma cutter may have been quicker, the cut then had to be cleaned up. So, you know, if you were doing 1 or 2, yeah, the plasma cutter might be good. Here's, you know, the piece that came off. It's a little warm. It's actually not too hot. All right, I think that's pretty much it. There's the overall thing again. This is bolted down now. It was clamped on in the original test. Some of you might have seen that video, but all the clamps are gone. The 2-part fixture is permanently in the right spot, so there's no measuring, which makes the prep quicker because there's nothing to measure. You don't have to measure it. You don't have to mark it, etch it, double check that measurement, and then try to follow that line if you're doing it freehand with either a plasma cutter, the angle grinder freehand, whether it has the cutoff wheel or the diamond tipped blade in it. This is just much quicker. So quicker, faster, more precise, perfectly straight. I just can't say enough about how satisfied I am with it. And I've never seen this before. This was something I thought of one day, and before I even thought of using an radial arm saw, I had sketched something I wanted to fabricate and weld to this table, or bolt to this table out here, this welding table. Now this is outside. This is in the outside area under the big carport. But it's going to be okay for a while. I covered it up with the motorcycle cover at night. Anyway, I was drawing this thing on paper, and then I'm looking at it, and I realized, I said, you know, that looks like something I've seen before, some woodworking saw. I honestly didn't even know that it was a radial arm saw I was looking at, that I was thinking of. I got on Facebook Marketplace, or I guess first I Googled them, saw some pictures. I said, yep, that's exactly what I need. But I wasn't sure how straight and true and all this stuff would work for woodworking, or how good they were, how rigid they were. Turns out, when I went and looked at it, I was impressed with how well it's built. It is a Craftsman back when Sears and Craftsman were a for real thing here in the U.S. Mid-70s, this was 1977, I think. I think that's what that is on there. So it's back when the stuff was pretty decent. Oh, they don't even make this anymore. It's a very dangerous woodworking tool. So, but it works perfect for this. $50, and it was fully working and functional. If somebody would have needed one for woodworking, this would have been the one, because this thing was in perfect condition. All right, before I ramble on, I'm going to get out of here. Get one last picture of this. All right, thanks for watching.